In today's competitive job market, and all indications are the job market's going to get stronger and harder, are you afraid your best people are going to get poached by the competition? Is there anything you can do to ensure that doesn't happen? Well, we're going to talk about that today. Welcome to episode 36 of the KeyHire Small Business Podcast, where we cover issues that help owners scale their small business. I'm Harlock, creator of KeyHire Solutions, and I'll be your host. So today I want to talk about a concept that I've been toying with called Rehire Your Best Employees. In the background of this is we all understand what counteroffers look like and how effective they are. And I just want to walk you through maybe a bit of a scenario. The job market heats up. Currently, we're considered, it's not a hot market now, and there are still too few people out there to fill the roles we need to fill. It's slow, but the unemployment rate is still very low, and we're going to be heating up again. And in preparation for that, how can you lock down your best people? Something you need to be aware of if you're a business owner out there wondering, I wonder if my people are getting called. I want to put your thoughts at rest here. The answer is yes. They're probably getting called once or twice a month right now. And if the market heats up, those calls are going to come faster. The frequency is going to be a lot higher. And for some reason, your best people keep saying, thank you, I'm not interested. But one day, if things go wrong, they might say, I'm open to listening to what you have to say. And that could be anything. It could be traffic on the way to work. It could be the way an interaction they had with their manager or a peer. It could be they're not feel like they're being challenged. They didn't get put on a project. Who knows what it is that could flip that switch? But the reality is they're getting called. And if they choose to listen and they go down that path of interviewing and end up with an offer, we know how the story ends. They come to you and they say, hey, I have another offer. I'm giving you my notice. Now, we as business owners are going to have a few options. Number one, we say, yeah, good luck. I can't match that. Or, well, if you really want to go, you can go. It's going to be a big loss, but I don't want to hold you back. Or we could say, well, how much did they offer you? And we could look at giving them a counter offer. Okay, well, they offered you a 10% increase. Well, I'm going to offer you 15 if you stay. The statistics around a counter offer are not good. I believe they are over 85% of the people who accept a counter offer cease to work in that job that they stayed in after 6 months. And there's two reasons that happens. On the employer side, there could be a breach of trust. We now think, well, that person has one foot out the door. They left. Are we going to loop them in? Are we going to hold them as close as we used to, share sensitive information with them, include them in key meetings? Because I might say, well, look, they already tried to leave. Maybe we don't, and we've lost the trust, and that doesn't help the relationship or the longevity of them and the company. From the candidate side, it is really simple. They realize that they took an increase to stay at the job that wasn't satisfying them in the first place. And so when you put those two together, that's not a recipe for long-lasting relationship. We're seeing counteroffers happen a lot more, and we're seeing savvy employees that are going down the road of jobs, of looking at new jobs with the intent of getting an offer and using it to leverage their current employer to stay where they are, but to get more money. As we just kind of outlined, that's not a great strategy, but most people don't understand that. And they, rationally, I guess it sounds like it could work, but ultimately the odds of it playing out the way you hope are low. So just to kind of go back, we know our people are getting called. They're going to start getting called more. And we know in big, hot job markets, the price of admission goes up. So that's kind of some background on what we're talking about today. How can we do a preemptive strike with our best employees to maximize the probability of them continuing to say, hey, I'm not interested in looking at new opportunities. I really like working where I am. So what mistakes could we make? Well, number one is putting our head in the sand and assuming no one's calling my people, or I'm not worried about them. I think they're going to stay forever, making that big assumption. But a lot of things have changed, and we're living a human experience, and the one thing that's unpredictable are human beings. We don't know what's going on in their life. Inflation has taken a big toll on a lot of us in terms of what our take home looks like and what our expenses look like. Someone could be getting married, someone could be expecting children, someone could have kids going to college, someone could be going through a divorce. We don't know what happens outside of work in people's lives that would make them change their mind or look for something new. And so let's not put our head in the sand and assume that people are going to be with us forever. Another mistake we could make is, fine, let them go. We'll just rehire. And remember, we're talking about top performers here. And if we break this down, as I like to, in bite-sized chunks and try to be logical about it, if we have a top performer out there, I want to talk to you about how hard and expensive it can be to replace that person. The first stat you need to be aware of is, for most business owners, they average about a 1 in 3 success rate when it comes to hiring, meaning they have to hire 3 people to get it right one time. And we know hiring to replace a person in a position, in a exempt role, leadership role, maybe sales, it's not 10%, it's not 20%, it's not $1,000. It can be anywhere from 80% to 200% of that person's annual salary. And that breaks down really easily. If they're in a sales role, well, the longer that sits empty, the fewer sales you're going to have. We also know that customers buy from people, not businesses, so they might take a chunk of your business. We also know that once we train someone, we got to get them up and running, and depending on their level of experience, that ROI on that individual, if they're a green salesperson, it could take 12 months for them to make a sale. If they're very experienced, well, they might hit the ground running a little quicker, but we're still going to have a gap. So having them leave to replace them and try to DIY it and hire ourselves can be costly. But there are more costs associated with this. So let's walk through what some of these look like. If they are a top performer, the odds of you getting someone as good as them are 1 in 3. To put it really simply, they're either going to be as good. If they're a top performer, they probably won't be better. There's a small margin that says they could be better, but 1/3 chance they're as good. There's a 1/3 chance they're going to be an average performer, not as good. And there's a 1/3 chance they're going to be a poor performer, just won't get the job done at all. How much is that worth? And then if you also get that top performer who comes in and is as good as they are, well, they're probably leaving a job where they want an increase, and you'll probably end up paying that person what the person who was in your company and left, you'll end up paying them that anyway, or really close to it. In my experience, that's what happens. And that all comes into, and I'll just kind of throw this in here, but this, people look at the range, right? What's our range? Well, if we're mid-range, we'll be good. So let's say we have a salesperson and we want to give them a base of 100K and they're on 100% incentive. They can double their salary on their incentive. And the person we had said, I want 120 base. And we said, we can't afford that. Well, if we say we want to bring in someone who at 100 to fill that role, and this is a top performer, 100 is the mid-range or 100 is the top of our range. Say our range is 80 to 100, or let's say 80 to 190, 90 to 110. Let's use that as our range. Well, 100 is the midpoint. Well, for someone to be excited to make $100,000 a year, what do they have to be making currently? Because everyone's looking roughly for a 10% increase when they move jobs. So they're making 90,000. And you have a person who's a company has valued at 120. Is someone who's currently making 90, do they have the capacity, the experience, the contacts to jump into your company and be a high performer and perform at the level of the person you're losing? The answer is probably no. Not 100% no, but the probabilities are that person is going to be more junior, less experienced, and probably doesn't have the chops of the person you lost. So your return on investment with this individual is going to be long tail. You're going to have to wait and see. They're not going to have the immediate impact. If you want to hire someone who's got the experience, the chops, the contacts, and can have immediate impact, you're going to have to pay them the top of the scale. Let's say 110,000. But they're still going to take time to ramp up, and they are the great unknown. We don't know them. We don't like them. We don't trust them. Not yet. The person who walked out our door, we know, like, and trust them. Is $10,000 worth keeping the person you know, like, and trust to take a flyer on someone you don't and you hope they can do their job? It's a question to think about. It's $10,000 that could ultimately change your business. Probability-wise, you won't be as strong. There's an outside chance you could be as good or even better. But the probability is you're going to be weaker, in a weaker position, at least for a little while. And you're going to have to get that person up and running and familiar with you. And you got to hope they fit your culture, and they got to hope they're a good team player, and you got to hope they're all these things. When the person you knew was a team player and could deliver walked out of your door for $20,000. So that's another mistake we can make. Another mistake we can make is offering the counter and then losing the trust, and or not listening to the person, why they accepted the other offer and what it's going to take to stay. And it could be things like, I want to be involved in a specific project, or there's an aspect of the business I really want to learn, or I'm not feeling challenged, or I want to lead a team. It could be anything, but listen to them and act on it so they think, oh, they're listening to me. I'm being stretched now. I'm excited about work. It's not as mundane as it used to be. And then as the owner or the leadership team, you have to stop well, they already have one foot out the door. Can we trust them? You have to kind of stop that. It's going to be hard, but you have to not play that card, because then you'll manage them out the door by the way they're treated, because you probably won't give them what they're looking for, because what they're probably asking for is more trust, more insight into the business, to get involved in more parts of the business that are sensitive or proprietary or whatever it might be. And they've asked for access, and you're losing the trust. So giving them that access is hard. So that can be a breakdown and a tete-a-tete for the employee who brought you their offer and the leader who made the counter. So those are some mistakes we could run into. So how can we fix it? What are the things that I could recommend to you that you could do to prevent this? And I've been toying with an idea called rehire your best employees. And the concept is really simple, but it does take some agility and it takes some open-mindedness. What if, as a business owner or a leader, you started going to all of your best employees tomorrow and said, I know you've been getting calls. And man, do I ever appreciate the fact that you aren't talking to anyone. If you're not, or if you are, That's why I want to talk to you today, because you're a real valuable person to this company. And we know that, we're getting busier. We know the market is tightening up. And I really, really want you to be a part of this company going forward for the next foreseeable future. We can't afford to lose you. And then asking them a simple question. I'm going to preface this question with a little insight from my background. I come from hospitality. I used to run hotels and restaurants and banquet facilities and things like that. And there was a little secret when it came to restaurants. If someone had a bad experience and I thought, man, that was horrible, I was ready to comp their whole meal. And I did fine dining. These meals could be a couple $100 back in the day before inflation. I would be ready to eat, for argument's sake, let's say $250. But if I said to the upset customer, I apologize, it's a simple formula: apologize, fix the problem, make them laugh. That's how you solve a problem in a restaurant, if anyone's listening. So if I went and apologized and said, hey, I'm so sorry, we really messed up here today. What can I do to make it right for you? The customer would generally ask for 10 to 20% of what I was willing to give them. So if I was willing to comp their whole $250 meal, they might say, take care of our bottle of wine. Easy. And then if I really wanted to blow their mind, I would say, I am going to take care of your bottle of wine, and I'm going to get your desserts too. Now they think I've gone over and above. Their minds are blown. Wow, that was great. He didn't have to do that. I was prepared to spend $250 and I just got out of there for $80 to $100. Right? So that's the concept I want to talk about. So instead of going to an employee and saying, I don't want you to leave, I know you're getting calls, you're valuable, I'm going to give you X. What I would do, or what I'm suggesting you do, is you go to your employee and say, I really see you being a part of this company long term. I really want to have you here. You're very valuable. What do you need from me to keep saying no to the people that are calling you? Now let that sink in for a second. What might they say? In my experience, what might they say? They might say, yeah, times are tough, or I'm getting married, or my kid's going to school. A raise would be great. How much? 10%. So it's going to cost you to bring in someone who can't do the job nearly as well as them. Plus you got downtime, plus you have the chaos and the headaches. Is a 10% raise worth it to save all that drama, all that hiring, all that training, all that they're not as good as so-and-so? Heck yeah. Maybe they'll say, I'm at a point in my life where spending time with my family is important and we want to take some vacations. I'd love an extra week of vacation, an extra week of PTO. Easy. Done. That costs you nothing in the grand scheme of things. I know there's a cost associated to it, but that's an easy no-brainer. Maybe they say, and this is true, the roads in Houston are getting crazy busy and my commute is a complete pain in the ass. I would love to be able to work from home 2 days a week. If it's a flexible role that can be done from home and it's worth keeping that person and they've worked with you for a long time and like, and trust them, maybe you make an exception for them if you don't have a hybrid policy. That's an easy fix. It's certainly easier to let a high-performing employee that like, and trust work from home 2 days than it is to try to bring in someone new and hope they can do the job as well as the current person is. Benefits are a big one. They might say, man, my family benefits are taking a big chunk out of my check. All right, well, let's talk about how we can resolve that. Maybe it's a salary increase. Maybe it's a stipend that they can put towards their benefits. Maybe it's an HSA. I don't know. And I'm not saying you need to bend over backwards to change the way your company functions. But the one big advantage small business owners have over large corporations is we can be agile. We can tailor to the individual versus the greater number. We can get away from blanket policies and be a little more creative throughout the business with our individuals while we're small. And as we grow and we get more corporate, that could get harder. However, you'll be able to take this feedback you've been getting from your best employees, and as you grow and create policies, you'll understand what your employees need and want to be happy in your business and stay there long term, so you can build your corporate policies around these small, agile, individual actions you're going to take with your current employees. So that's something I've been toying around with. I've been thinking about it and wondering what would happen if we got really proactive and we went to our best people. Maybe it's our leaders. Maybe it's someone who's in a totally niche role. Maybe it's someone who there are just not a lot of people in the market with that specific skill set, and you want to lock them in for another 12, 24, 36 months. Heck, you could even tie stay bonuses to it, retention bonuses. I'm going to give you, on top of what you asked for, I'm going to give you 10 grand every year for the next 36 months that you stay here, because I really need you over the next 3 months, because our plans we're growing and you're a real important piece of our plan to grow. Because losing your best people at the wrong time can really put the brakes on what you're trying to do. And our whole goal here is to move and grow and get better and bigger. And these are just some thoughts I had around how can we keep our best people and think outside of the box. I would love to know what your thoughts are on this topic. I know some people are probably thinking, Corey, you're crazy. You know how hard that is? It's not as hard as trying to hire a key person and bring them in and hope they know what they're doing and then suffer through poor performance and terminating that employer and then trying to DIY hire someone else and hoping they work out and then having your company go through flux. It's not as hard as missing dinners with the family. It's not as hard as not being able to go on vacation because you don't trust the people who are, or you have people in key roles that are new and you just don't have that level of trust in them. I know that. So it doesn't have to be hard. It can be pretty simple. It just takes some creativity and some agility. And I'm sure if it's something you want to discuss and work through, I'm happy to do it. Give me a call or shoot me an email and we can schedule a time to talk. But those are my thoughts for today anyway. I hope you've enjoyed the show. And I'd like to thank you for tuning into the KeyHire Small Business Podcast. If you got value out of today's episode and want to keep up to date with our new content, make sure you leave a comment below or let us know what you think of the episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you prefer to listen to your podcast, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, or whatever your favorite platform is by searching the KeyHire Small Business Podcast, or you can hit the link in the liner notes and go right to our podcast page on our website. I'd like to thank you for listening again today. I'm Corey Harlock, and until next time, stop grinding, start growing.